House. Welcome along. Whoa, we're here. All the talking is said and done pretty much. The last What a Shout before Cheltenham week. Plenty to bring you though this weekend. We'll be looking at Sandown, some big races there. The Imperial Cup, of course, isn't it? No bonus hunting this year, but we'll be finding the winners to hopefully boost your bank pre-Cheltenham week. Myself, Dave Orton, thrilled to be back with you, filmed somewhere in the capital on a Friday morning. The Racing Post flagship feature weekend show, brought to you by our sponsors, Bet365. Now, we're juggling about for you some new talent to introduce to the panel. And I'm delighted to say that Robbie Wilders joins me on the show. Rob.
Yeah, welcome. Well,
thank you.
You should be welcome. You are welcoming me.
Well, this is brilliant. It's great to have Robbie on. If you listen, regular readers of the Racing Post and and viewers, old postcasts you used to do them all, didn't you? And then
yeah,
you kind
meet
of
and drink.
You went a little bit loco.
I had too much on doing other sort of tasks, but now I'm more
far
in
too
this.
busy for us.
Exactly. Yeah, I was batting away requests left, right, and centre to come on.
Absolutely. But you have now joined the tipping. I mean, what's wrong with you, man? You must be crazy.
The new Tom Collins.
Well, absolutely full of bullishness.
Slightly better looking, maybe.
Well, listen, the coat is. We've never had a coat in the studio.
You never. I was freezing last time I was in here, so I thought.
And now it's a bit.
I mean, maybe I'll be getting hot on the collar later on, and I'll take it off.
Listen, Robbie, it's great to have you.
Cheers,
obviously,
mate.
Listen, we've seen your, in the tipping department now fully. Cheltenham on the horizon. You've done some other shows for us as well. I don't know, how do you approach this weekend coming up? Is this one where you just switch off, or you do like a weekend off? I know that.
Oh, I love weekend off. Yeah, I'm off this weekend, but in this role, you can't really afford to just turn it off, can you?
And you have put one up.
I've put up a big price one later on.
Us.
I won't mention until later, but
you are actually known, aren't you, as the anti-postman? Now
I am. It was a name that I coined myself.
I mean, that's remarkable, isn't it? And not even Price-wise called himself Price-wise.
It's crazy. No one thought of that sort of niche in the market before.
But you have delivered.
I had, yeah. The column was very much in profit going into Cheltenham at some nice positions as well. So.
If we ever do a show with Charlie Post, it's going to be very confusing. But I might refer to you as the postman if you don't mind.
I'd love it. Yeah. I mean, I didn't invent it, so.
Absolutely. It's great to have Robbie on now. From our sponsors, Bet365. He's on holiday, not at the beach. I don't know. Maybe he is. He's in Ireland though. It's Pat Cooney.
Yes. Greetings from sunny Dublin. I was recording a show yesterday with the likes of David Jennings, Gavin Lynch, etc. And then I went on to Shelbourne Park Greyhounds in the evening. So a labour of love.
Up in the anti-preview, of course. You lived to tell the tale.
I've survived it, yes. They looked after me. Great hospitality. So would love to do it again.
Well, absolutely. And he looked very fresh-faced, Pat, from one that spent time with those individuals, I can tell you. Happy days. Right, let's have a look at exactly what we've got coming up for you on this weekend show. We will be talking to the Cheltenham maestro himself, Seven Barrows trainer Nicky Henderson. Gives me an excellent interview, must not miss stuff that is, let me tell you. Even talks about the Imperial Cup at the weekend with all his Cheltenham runners. We'll be looking at Sandown, 4 massive race previews for you, Cheltenham chat, and of course those all important weekend winners. Well, it's a warm welcome back on What a Shout to leading Cheltenham trainer Nicky Henderson comes back on. Nicky, it's delighted to have you. Where are you? You in your office this time? We had you in the car last time.
Indeed.
Yeah, great stuff.
At the office day, and then where are we going? Another lovely preview in London tonight.
Yeah, you must be on the circuit doing those. Do you remember when you made your debut, Nicky? We spoke briefly off air, didn't we? It was when racing Twitter, as we called it, went absolutely bonkers after Shiskhin didn't turn up in the Tingle Creek. Oh, what's wrong with him and all that sort of stuff. And did he leave it behind as a novice? And you said, I will come back on when those silly clowns are eating their hats after we've won at Kempton and we've won the Clarence House. Here you are. It's great.
I won't make you eat it.
Well, it's great to have you. Let me tell you, we've taken Stetsons and Trilbys around the office, and they're getting stuck in at the moment with a bit of hot sauce, so that's quite good fun. Nicky, the run-up to the festival is here. It seems an insatiable appetite, doesn't it, now, to try and just talk about Cheltenham from the very start of the festival. That is what it is. But we are in the quietest week, well, unless you're doing the previews like yourself and the final bits of work. For us journalists, it's all about, Tuesday now. The decks have come in. We're filming a little bit earlier in the week. This is going out on Friday, of course. With the Irish dominance of last year, Nicky, 23-5, yes, I had to say it. How's the pressure going into next week?
I think, I don't know, a lot of people have said I'm getting better over the years. If I keep going for another sort of 25 or something, I'll probably get quite relaxed about it all.
Oh, so okay, it's because I guess
but
the pressure
good
is on
thing
them,
about
isn't it?
If you didn't have any pressure, it would mean that you hadn't got any horses worth talking about. So if you want good horses, you've got to live with what goes with them, and there we do.
Well, it's fair to say we have a few of them. Obviously, we're kicking off in the very first race. Should we try and whistle through some of how they are? Now, I spoke to your ex-jockey, Jerry McGrath, this morning, and this is on Wednesday for anyone that needs the the lid lifted on that. And he said this is a good time to be phoning the boss because horses have gone through their final school, have they?
Well, they're all on a slightly different program. They'll have their final school tomorrow. But one lot worked yesterday and another lot worked today, and they're working according to we took 12 to Kempton last Tuesday, and so they actually worked again yesterday, and another whole lot worked here on Saturday, and they worked today, Wednesday.
Okay, now we know who went to Kempton. We saw Jonbon
Right.
at Kempton, didn't we? We saw Jonbon at Kempton.
Yeah.
That was well publicised. Shall we start off with him then, Nicky, in the Supreme? They're calling it the best Supreme ever ran. You've got you've had the first two in the market all through the winter. Probably Willie doesn't even know what he's going to run. We're all hearing that on the previews at the moment. People are a bit sick to death of that. People love the fact that you've confirmed these two chaps right, from an early point. And Jonbon didn't please everyone, did he, at Haydock? But I don't know. It looked like he was learning on the job a bit again that day.
No, he was running in, how should I put it, very unpleasant ground on a pretty Haydock's Haydock. It's not a good track these days, I fear, and the ground is dreadful. But it was a good opportunity. It was a good race for him, and he's just not as impressive in that ground as he is on really good ground. He's a classy horse, and those sort of people just don't like it like that. He was all right. I mean, he quickened up really well. He was very, very strong on the line, and finished his race really well.
Well, one of the horses he thrashed in it went out and won at Kelso at the weekend, didn't it? Nicky Richards' horse. The form looks all right.
Yeah.
Why run him there then, Nicky? I guess is he a horse that is needed educating? Lots has been said about him being buzzy and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, he is. He was very buzzy. I mean, if you go right back to the beginning, before he was going to run, have his first run, we took him to Newbury for the Ladbroke press day. The Tuesday before the Ladbroke meeting, and I took him there really just to see what he was going to be like on the racecourse, and he was quite edgy. He got quite warm. I was nearly just going to take him straight home, but he was settling down, and we let him go and have a cant around on his own. And at Kempton on Tuesday last week, we very much did the same thing. I led him round the pre-parade ring for 10 minutes, and he was very relaxed. So we let him go, and he went a mile and a half, again, on his own. When he's working here, he goes with other horses all the time. But it's just I want him to go to the racecourse, have a nice time, and not just wind that clock too tight. Because it is a bit of a coiled spring. And he's got to get through the preliminaries as well. And that is sort of going to be an important part of his day. It is the first race, which I think helps us. We usually wear earplugs in him through the preliminaries and actually then take them out at the start, which is what we'll do again. And I mean, yeah, I expect everybody will say, Jonbon's getting very sweaty and he's getting warm. Well, he might get a bit warm, between his hind legs and on his neck, but that's him. And I'd be surprised if he doesn't.
If any horse was going to have the headphones on, Nicky, I think we knew it was going to be him. And hopefully that'll be fine for him. Now, he is confounding a lot of our top judges, I've got to tell you, because in the kennel gate, straight as a die, jumped beautifully, jumped really well at Haydock as well, finds that second gear. But again, he's had to get going a little bit. He does strike us here at the Racing Post as one horse that once he gets a proper pace, we could see something special. Are you in that camp as well?
Both horses want a good gallop, yeah. They do. He wants a good end-to-end gallop. He'll stay. I mean, he could go up 2.5. But we've always said, and both owners have always been on the 2-mile line, and there's been we haven't really discussed moving off it, but both of them could go to 2.5 if they wanted to. And I wouldn't be surprised if, they're both chasers in the making, and when that day comes, you'd imagine one or both of them will move up 1/2 mile.
Okay, that's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah, of course, they're bred to be proper national hunt horses. And you mentioned the other chap, of course, Constitution Hill. He's done what's been pretty much expected of him. Cakewalks at Sandown. Different kettle of fish, Nicky, but we hear everything he's doing is pleasing you, it's fair to say, at home. And they have that line of form between them, the horses, don't they? Harry Fry's horse called Mai Tai. I know they were giving different weights and stuff, and it's quite difficult to equate for us out there, but it's fair to say the market suggests that Constitution is number one anyway. How's he going?
Yeah, he's great. I mean, we were never going to run him again because there was really very little to be gained, because wherever you went, and I couldn't run him in something like the Betfair Hurdle because he hadn't had 3 runs. The only point of running him again would have been to get some experience of running in a big field. Because he's only had small fields and he's just bossed them. Now, if we ran him again, all I was ever going to find was a 2 or 3 horse race, which is very nice if that's what you want, but it's not going to achieve anything from his point of view. So we haven't run him. He went to Kempton the other day. He was in great form and he's just done everything right. Touch wood, we've still got that horrible last week to go. And fingers crossed he's in great shape.
But he's...
except for the day he was in great shape. The day I went to Kempton, what was it, last Saturday or the Saturday before? And walked into a maelstrom of press and television pundits. What's wrong with Jonbon? What's wrong with Jonbon? The whole way through, everywhere. He's drifted from 5s to 10s. Well, I don't know who starts these rumours, but I suppose we get it every year, and you deny it. They say we don't believe you, and we get all that lark going on. And anyway, 3 days later, he's back to 5s again. So who dreams these things up? I have absolutely no idea. Whether they do it just to sort of liven up the markets a bit, whether they do it so that I can get annoyed. I don't know. Doesn't worry me.
Yeah, I think you know the answer to that. There's a bit of both going on. It only takes someone in a stable to start a little fire and there's a blaze all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll get to another one of them on the Wednesday in a minute. But, okay, Nicky, the question out there, look, everyone will expect me to answer. Who is the best of them? Is it Constitution as the market thinks? Or, I don't think...
Perhaps I told you JP the other day, and he said, have you ever worked them together? And the answer to that is categorically no. And not for any other reason that they wouldn't necessarily complement each other at home. You start working these very good horses with each other, I mean, they can go and do too much. So they've and you wouldn't do it just so I could find out the answer. He wouldn't tell you the answer. Working over 8, 9, 10 furlongs isn't going to tell you what's going to win over 2 miles round Prestbury, up and down dales and jumping hurdles. It's not an exact science, I'm afraid. They've never worked together. They've obviously worked with similar horses along the line. But I'm lucky. I'm the one person that doesn't have to have a side. I just hope that all goes well. We're going to get hit very hard, obviously, by Willie's team. As you say, you wouldn't be sure until the last minute. As much as I love Willie, we sort of talk a lot, but I mean, I've no idea what he's going to run.
Yeah,
it's anybody's guess, but we know they're going to be good, and they definitely are. So we've got to be as good as we think and hope these are.
Well, I think they are, Nicky, and we can't wait. You can hopefully have a glass of champagne then until the champion hurdle afterwards. And,
I hate stuff. Find me something else, will you?
There is there is no pressure going into the champion hurdle this year, Nicky, because all eyes on Honeysuckle. You finished third to her last year with your 2020 winner, Epatante. Are you a little bit surprised that more news hasn't come her way after that Kempton win was boosted in the Betfair hurdle?
We set out at the beginning of the season with two objectives: the Fighting Fifth and the Christmas Hurdle. The JP said, "Listen, if we can win those two, we'll have had a good year." Well, we did technically win both, although one was a dead heat. And I thought she was fantastic at Kempton. She looked like her old. She was back to her very best, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was hurdling with that same fluency and speed and accuracy. She quickened really well. She probably got there a tad too soon. She was at her best. We've had a nice little freshen up since then. I think she's just about coming right at the. She had a gallop at Kempton, and then she did work very, very well yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy that we're sort of somewhere near where we want to be. Yeah. Now you've got one problem. When she won, there wasn't a Honeysuckle around, and I wouldn't tell you that it was the greatest champion hurdle she won, because it wasn't. But she was very good, and she was the best horse in the race. She was the best horse in the Fighting Fifth last year. And then the wheels fell off a bit. And she definitely wasn't at her best at Cheltenham. And, okay, we finished third, but she's definitely better than that. And she's definitely in miles better form now than she was at any stage of last year. So we can only hope. I mean, it's going to be probably very wishful thinking that she can get anywhere near Honeysuckle, but I'd be very disappointed at the same time if she doesn't get somewhere near giving her a race.
Okay, well, I think this is one that you can enjoy anyway, and she's definitely best of the British, Nicky. We wish you lots of luck with her as she goes to try and regain that champion hurdle crown. Can I just ask you about the mare's race, Nicky? Will Marie's Rock go for that? She's in the.
Yes, she will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sort of. Yeah, she worked very well this morning. I couldn't tell you I really think she's going to win. They're a good mares. But that last run at Warwick, she was very impressive. And the further she went, the better she went. She was another one that finished the race very, very strongly. I think it'll suit her. We thought she was going to win the mares Novice 2 years ago, and she got ruled out at the last minute. And I don't know, last year was just a disaster. Whereas she's come right back to it this year, and I'm actually quietly looking forward to running her.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah, a lot of people will be wondering when she gets up the hill. But if you take out that unlucky Lanzarote run, she's a definite play. It was 2000.
Yeah, well, she was. That you got to take that out. That was actually, she got wiped out at the first hurdle.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, all right. I like that one, a sneaky one. Not sneaky as we move to the Wednesday is most people's banker of the week, even over Honeysuckle. It's the best piece of chasing form we've seen in many, many moons. You and Willie squared up to each other in the Clarence House. You told us he would win it. And that was, I mean, what I heard, Nicky, and perhaps you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that he was a great form afterwards, but he knew he'd had a race. Now, lots has been said about having hard races at Ascot, hasn't it? How is he? Again, I've heard that he's come out A1 in his own work.
Yeah, he's great. Nico rode him this morning and said he felt great. And that is, you know, he could be the judge and jury. And that was the same, you know, throughout the whole season, really, when we go back to the November bit, when we didn't run in the Tingle Creek. Sorry, I've moved this screen away.
Oh, don't worry, Nicky, you're all right.
Okay. You know, it was Nico who was telling me quite rightly that, you know, he wasn't happy with him, nor was I. His work wasn't up to standard. The horse wasn't doing what he should be doing. I'm not surprised that 10 days later he turned out, you know, the proof of the pudding was in when we were taking his bloods and track washes, which is looking into their lungs, he was all wrong. Luckily, the horse had enough sense to tell us that. Nico could tell me, I could tell, and we all could tell. He just wasn't himself at all. So we had to sort of just stop, pull back for a month and start again. And then he was all right for Kempton, came on a fair bit for that. And then Ascot was Ascot. It was a great race. And I hope, yes, it was tough, but he's quite a tough horse and he came out of it very well. I mean, there have been times when, Altior got into those very tough races and it really took a lot out of him because he put a lot into it. Shiskhin puts a lot into it. But he found it, he recovered from it very nicely, quickly. And so we were back in work in good time to get ourselves ready for this next battle. And this is just going to be round 2. It was only a length, isn't it, between the Narjadine and him at Ascot. That doesn't make him a banker in my book. It means we're just going to have another hell of a race. And then, of course, he's going to throw Chacun Pour Soi in as well.
Yes.
So, we've got a mighty tough race on our hands here. I don't look at this as any sort of... He's not the banker that Sprinter was and Altior was when they were bossing it. He really has got to prove himself come Wednesday, and he's well capable of it, I think, and he's in great form. I do think going left-handed will help him a little bit. But otherwise, we've got to mind our own business, and Willie's obviously doing the same with his, so we'll see what happens.
Well, as we've seen over the years, Ascot is a track where you can go out to your left a little bit more. Altior showed us more than most, didn't he? But he hits that flat spot, doesn't he, Nicky? And when he hits that flat spot, what are you thinking? You obviously see him at home. You know what sort of character he is. He always finds a way, doesn't he? Supreme, he did it. Even at Ascot, he did it. At Kempton, at one point, turning in, you thought, oh, is he going to need the blow? And then whoosh, away he goes.
Yeah. That's the great thing about him. He's tough, he's hard, he's a battler. He's just very honest. He's pretty straightforward, really. I mean, obviously, if they get sick, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's unblemished, really, isn't he? One fall over hurdles, and otherwise we're intact.
Yeah. Okay, well, he's everything that we ought to aspire to be then in life. That's Shiskhin, and we cannot wait for that. He's long odds on, isn't he? And be interesting to see the makeup of the field, that's for sure. Let's talk about some of your other runners then before we go to some of your proper big hopes, the Gold Cup in particular, Nicky, if you don't mind. I Am Maximus, who came up against a giant last time. Are you thinking Ballymore for him, or are you going to go handicap? He'd be interesting in handicap, wouldn't he?
Well, the handicap route is interesting. We have discussed it. You'd have to say, well, if he can't win the Korolev 134, how's he going to win the Ballymore? Level weight with 140-something rated horses. That form is pretty good. I mean, he's a very, very good stayer, Henry Daly's horse, and he was hard. It looked going to the last as if we'd got the measure of him, but I think he probably just outstayed us. He's a very strong stayer. He's a big bruiser of a horse to get up sides, and poor old Maximus, he's not small by a very long way, but he looks small there.
I backed him that day, Nicky, and I thought I had him coming to the last. And he's still a bit green, isn't he? In all his runs, he's looked like he's still very much thinking about what he's doing.
I think he'll go there and he has a good chance, but he's a horse that, I think we could be looking forward to even more next year. He's not quite the finished article yet. He's entitled to have a crack at it. You'd be pretty sure he'd be chasing next season, and then I think you'll see a really good horse.
Let's move to the Thursday then. I'm conscious that you're on the clock, Nicky. Let's talk about Champ, if you don't mind, in the Stayers. Of course, we saw what happened in that remarkable race with Paisley Park last time when he went back to Cheltenham to strut his stuff. He was the anti-post favourite after winning the long walk, of course, at Ascot. No 10-year-old has ever won the Stayers. Crimson Embers did as an 11-year-old. I'm sure that doesn't bother you. But this chap has been sort of mixing about. Everyone expected him to be the Gold Cup of Future. He's won the RSA, we know that. Were you surprised that day that he sort of found one too good?
Well, first of all, hats off to, but I've always said this to Emma and her team, to get Paisley Park back like that, because he was probably the one horse that I wasn't, that before the Cleve, you weren't that frightened about if he was going to run to his long walk form and performance. He was brilliant in the long walk camp. I mean, he tanked through the race. I mean, he was the winner from a long way from home, wasn't he? You could see him just, and he can do this. He's always been very good first time out. And, when we went to Cheltenham for the Cleve, he sort of nearly ran a bit flat, and I was worried a long way out. It wasn't, he didn't look the same horse as he was at Ascot by a long way from a long way from home. And then he got into a battle at Paisley Park. I think under the circumstances, he did well to finish where he did. So we've just retweaked a few things, and we've just probably more than anything gone to freshen him up. And I'm trying to make him think it's his first run of the year. And we've only just done one piece of work with him, which was yesterday. And Nico rode him, who knows him very, very well. And he actually worked really well. And we all came off the grounds thinking, hello, we might just have got this. We might have got him back. It's if he's the long walk hurdle horse, he's got a great chance. If he's the Cleve hurdle horse, he's got no chance.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? All right, well, he's a big player for JP on the week, as is Chantry House. Let's get to the Blue Ribbon then, the Gold Cup. What have you made of this year's race, first and foremost, Nicky? You took him to Kempton, didn't you, after he came through that match race, the Might Bite route, if you like, in that intermediate chase. A lot was said about that. He got an early bump at Kempton in the King George. Fair to say the money was down from somewhere. We'll leave it there. But that must have confounded you. He didn't get a hard race, though, did he? Everyone expected him to sort of come through the Argento, as well as could possibly be the case in the Cotswold. And again, more questions than answers for a lot of people in first-time cheek pieces.
Yeah, we talked about putting cheek pieces on for the King George, and just knowing that it's going to be the first time in a big competitive field where they're going to go pretty, you're going to go headlong straight away, no time to think. And we talked about cheek pieces with AP and Nico before the King George. And I just thought he was so well and fresh in himself. I couldn't believe he needed them. I was probably wrong, or almost certainly was wrong. He did need them, and that's why we did put them on in the Cotswold. And again, I'd be the first to admit that wasn't an earth-shattering performance. I think you've got to remember Santini, and I did know him pretty well a few years ago, and he was second in a Gold Cup. So he's a very strong stayer, and he's a very strong traveller and jumper. He's a very, very good horse, and maybe he was just being a bit underestimated. And maybe he's even been underestimated for the Gold Cup. Although I think the Grand Nationals is sort of the race. I'd love to see him in Santini because that's made for him.
Wow, OK. I mean, what's the line on Santini then, Nicky, as Polly thinks that she's got him... has he benefited from going to a smaller yard? Is the word that he is sort of back to where he was?
I honestly don't know. I'm nothing to do with what they're doing or his preparation. I just know him very well, obviously.
All right.
He was here for 4 years. So, I know him. And I mean, he's a horse that can take plenty of work. He wants a lot of work. He's entitled to improve with his racing. He's sort of, he had quite a number of problems. But on the other hand, he proved the year before he was a very, very good horse in that Gold Cup. He got a tough race, yes, but he is very good. And I think Chantry, I mean, I'm pretty sort of, we would play, we've had time since the Cotswold to just do a bit of fine tuning. And I think we're sort of getting there.
You're going to surprise a few people.
The way he is.
All right. And Tactics-wise, will it be a case of just letting him warm up into the race, or are we thinking of something different even?
Yeah, well, I don't think we'll need to be making it because there's going to be plenty of pace anyway, bound to be. I think the main thing about this year's Gold Cup is it's, and always has been from the beginning of the season, it's looked wide open. I've always thought A Plus Tard looked the most likely winner, and I still think he is. But there's a whole stack of them there, which I'm glad to say includes Chantry House, that could easily hit the jackpot.
Yeah, we get the feeling that he's got his quirks, but I think we've always known that you've thought that he's been something of the apple of your eye from talent-wise, isn't he?
Well, he's a lovely horse, and yeah, he won. He's won over 2.5 at Cheltenham twice. So he's got some sort of tactical speed, as much as he stays as well. No, I'm sort of within reason looking forward to it.
Can I be selfish and ask you for one left field one? Well, I keep waiting for Mr. Coffee to show what he's all about. Probably you as well, Nicky, as well. He's been keen, isn't he? When he jumped on his debut at Newbury, he nearly went over 5 fences at times, didn't he? He gave him so much air.
Yeah, he got so much scope, yeah.
And is he going to go in the Kim Muir? Now, everyone will not think about Nicky, some of our younger viewers for the Kim Muir, but when I got into racing, one of the biggest certainties on God's Racecourse was a horse called the Bushkeeper. And I saw bookies in tears. I saw men putting money into their socks and walking off the track. And that was easy done. Of course, is this a sort of... Has this always been at the back of your mind? Because he's not gone over the trip yet, has he?
There's 2 things he hasn't done. Well, he has in his last 2 races. Trainer as usual. Yeah, I mean, we ran him at Kempton. He should have won that day. But we weren't expecting him to jump so, I wouldn't say it was violently left, but he definitely threw the race away, jumping to his left. It cost him more than he was beaten. And then I wasn't sure where to go, and actually ran him in a City Hours. Well, City Hours, it was probably Nikki Henderson, because we were going back right-handed again, and not surprisingly, he jumped out to his left quite a bit. So at long last, we're doing 2 things. We're finally going over 3 miles, which is what he wants, and you quite rightly predicted. Right. And secondly, we're going the right way round. So basically, yes, you've got it right.
And who's going to ride him, Nicky?
Sam Whaley-Cohen.
Ah, there we are. So you're looking at what, around about 16-1 short bet 365 at the moment. Nicky, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I can tell you're in really, really good form. It's been a bit quiet for you recently, but it's gonna come good. With Balco Coastal, just a quick word on that for our viewers. I know that you're speaking to the owners and it's not deck time yet, but you are leaning towards the Imperial, are you, with him?
I've been talking to Mark quite a lot during the week, and I think he's always slightly led towards the Imperial Cup anyway. I think we'll run First Street and Bloomfield Berg in the county. I was thinking of all 3, but just looking at the Imperial Cup, this might make more sense. You say the bonus isn't there, so there's no temptation to run him twice. But if we can't, listen, let's just try and win the first leg. I think I was talking to Dave Roberts this morning. He said, well, if you look at the 2 races, if you can't win, if you don't win the Imperial Cup, you won't win the county. So we might as well try and win one. And I suspect he'll probably finish up in the Imperial Cup, which is always a good race to try and win. It's a very good prize, and he's a good horse, actually. We tried him over 2.5 the last time at Cheltenham, and we were just under the impression he didn't quite stay that up the hill. He looked all over the winner at the last, but I wasn't sure he quite stayed. So a stiff 2 round Sandown up that hill, I think, might suit.
It was a funny race, wasn't it? They omitted some hurdles, and North Lodge, the horse that beat him, certainly didn't harm the form at Kelso. All right, well, we look forward to that as we count down the hours to the Supreme, and when you give a good old assault trying to get Britain 1 up on the scoreboard. Nikki Henderson, thanks for joining us on What a Shout. For myself, Dave Orton, and once again, what a pleasure.
Thank you.
There you go then. Absolutely magnificent to have Nicky back on. He promised us he would come back on after Shiskhin won at Kempton, won the Clarence House. We were going to go after Cheltenham, so let's hope we've not kiboshed the hat-trick. Were you one of the hat-eating brigade? Did you have a perler? Because you love a bit of social media, don't you? And all that sort of
Nah.
Don't you?
I like Instagram.
That's
not
right.
not Twitter. I've been more posting pictures than opinions.
Yeah, racing Twitter is a beast of its
yeah,
own. Pat, let's
it's
come
a
to
bit
you.
much for me.
Pat, I mean, it was a tough time for him when we had him on pre-Ladbrokes Trophy, wasn't it? Jonbon was just about to run. You know, Shiskhin was getting pelters all over the place. He told us.
Yeah, absolutely. But he knows his stuff, doesn't he? I'm of the opinion, as with the likes of JP McManus and everyone, you give the horse to Nicky, and it's his problem. He knows what he's doing. Just leave it with him. And if he says the horse isn't ready to roll, then so be it. But I was interested in that clip. You know, I was talking to a few people saying I'm not too sure about how well Nicky's horses are going at the moment, as the strike rate is a bit lower. But you'd be reassured listening to him there, wouldn't you?
Well, I have to say I was a little bit, not nervous, but I was a little bit conscious of how he might be, because I had heard that he'd snapped a few people. And through that interview, he said, when I went to Kempton, there was loads of journalists and TV people about, you know, you could tell that annoyed him a little bit, because he's not from 18, wasn't he, going into that interview on Wednesday. But again, he's not running his best horses, is he? And you do like one of his on Saturday, but we won't go there. What he did say, he gave us a couple of buzzers, didn't he? Constitution Hill apparently has been working with flat horses, we've been hearing. They've had to get him in from Lambourne. And also Mr. Coffee seemingly as a proper plot job. Do you buy into that at all?
Yeah, I do. I've had my eye on Mr. Coffee for a while. I mean, he's sort of been coming to the ball quite slowly. I thought it was a good run behind Long Press at Sandown.
You wouldn't remember the Bushkeeper, would you? I talked to him.
I don't have a clue what that
You
is.
wouldn't have a clue.
What race is that?
Do you know what? I said to Paul Keeley, who later that evening did a preview with Nicky, and he said, he's remarkably bullish, Dave, you're right, about Mr. Coffee. And I said, did he mention the Bushkeeper? And Kills had obviously had a few. He went, who's that owned by? And this was his 2001 or 2002, was it? 2003 even, I can't remember. But one of my first festivals, Pat, I honestly remember the Bushkeeper. And I saw men and women shoving money where they shouldn't have been putting it. They took that much off the bookies.
So,
you can win these races.
What race is it?
That's a Kim Muir.
Oh, okay. How long? Well, it's not been that for
Mr.
20.
Coffee's
It's not
in,
been
man.
that for 20 years.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't won the Imperial Cup either for a long time. Anyway, we digress. Wasn't it fun to speak to Nicky? Let's get some big race previews for you then. We're having some fun in the studio here, and let's hope we can continue the theme after tipping you the winner of the 150. It is the EBF final. Pat Cooney, market's been up for a while now. This is always an open race.
Yeah, this is always a wild betting race, this one. It's probably the most competitive race before the festival kicks in, and punters like having a bash at it, and none more so than Nappers Hill of Paul Nicholls, Harry Cobden. He is top weight. He was 8-1 at the start of the week. He's now 4-1. We last saw him running okay at Newbury. I think at the time, Paul Nicholls' horses, we were still saying, they're not running that great. It was an okay run. I wish I was on at 8. I think 4-1's plenty short enough now. It's a deep old race. If there is value in the race, I'm looking at King of the West for David Pipe. Just had the 4 runs, 3 over hurdles, unexposed, moving up in trip. He can make all. He's been ridden by a Fergus Gillard, who's on again on Saturday, claiming 3. I'd rather be looking at something like him at 11 than Nappers Hill at 4. Thunder Rock again is another one that's popular in the market. But I think the Handicap has seen the pair of them run recently. So they're no bargains. Respect them, of course. But I'm going unexposed King of the West for me as the value.
Oh, gosh, and it's a meeting you really associate the Pipes with. Would you even remember that?
Yeah.
And Martin Pipe, we know you wouldn't remember that.
I wasn't even following racing when Martin Pipe
Were you born?
was training.
I don't know.
93.
The Pipes used to turn up and just win everything at this
Yeah,
point.
I've heard great things. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the great things used to happen, and let's see if this could. Well, Pat thinks it will happen in the EBF. Now, the excellent Kevin Morland every Saturday does his 10-year trend column. I don't often talk through it in detail, but you've got to get this in your members club or tomorrow's paper. Check it out, because this is this is almost a doyen of the trains race. Biblical followers of this. 10 out of 10s you get all the way down here. And it's very interesting this, and Nappers Hill would be the one that really catches your eye after this. Between 3 and 5 runs only over hurdles, 10 out of the last 10 had done that. Age 5 or 6, 10 out of the last 10. Top 3 finish on the last 2 starts. Am I going too fast for you? 10 out of 10. Officially rated between 122 and 132. 10 out of the last 10. Yet to run in a handicap. No good for Thunder Rock or indeed Nappers Hill. 9 out of the last 10. And it goes down. This is a really strong trends race. I went down to Ditcheat at the start of the week, and it didn't put me away, but the very last horse on the list that I was asked to ask him about for Cheltenham was Nappers Hill in the boys' race, what we call the boys' race, the conditionals race. As Pat alluded to, has this chap been on your radar at all, Nappers Hill?
Yeah, I think he's well handed. He's only got up £1 for the Betfair hurdle run.
But he's 135, and Nicholls knew that he was going to have top weight in it, and he said, I think I'm just going to sweat it. and see if I can get into the Martin Pipe conditional
Yeah.
hurdle. He's obviously looked at it. I think he's something like 50, 60 odd on the list. It's a tough race to get into this year.
The way a lot of the handicaps are cutting up a bit at the 5-day stage, I wouldn't be surprised if he did get in. But he's obviously going to run here. So
yeah, we're going to talk about Cheltenham a little bit later on, aren't we? But it's amazing how many horses rated in the late 120s do get into these handicaps in the end. You're right, Robbie. But that would knock out Nappers Hill, and I guess the ground drying has maybe forced his hand a little bit. I actually quite liked his other horse in the race, Complete Unknown, who's very well named actually, because I don't think we've seen the best of this chap at all. Unlike Nappers Hill, who is not considered your embryo chaser, this bloke has been waiting for a fence. I like him with Lorcan Williams on, Cheltenham Festival winning rider, but the one for me, Dubrovnik Harry. Are we agreeing?
yeah, likewise.
Oh no, fools seldom differ, Robbie.
Make your case, please.
The postman. Well, they had to run him a bit quickly last time, I think, didn't they, to get him qualified for this. Harry Fry, this is just the sort of race he wins. Sean Bowen on for me. And his win at Exeter has worked out rather well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
He looked proper.
That's similar thoughts to me. Also I thought it was quite interesting, on Racing Post ratings, aside from Nappers Hill, Dubrovnik Harry put up a 135 there. That's better than anything else in the field by quite some way.
And yet he's not running off that mark.
He's running on heavy ground there. I mean, he's turned out quite quickly after he's been beaten by David Pipehorse at 1-3, but he was only beaten half a length. He got the last completely wrong. I think if he's going in with a 1 next to his name, he'd be a lot shorter. And he's only off 125. I think that's going to underestimate him. It's interesting, early in the season, he had a couple of Grade 2 entries he missed. So I think everything points to him being quite well handicapped off 125.
And Harry Fry's come back, hasn't he? Do you remember this time last year he couldn't train a winner, could he?
Yeah.
When Metier was going into the Supreme. He's quietly going into the festival this time. I quite like. I thought our Jet was relatively interesting as well, but I'm taking on the market leaders. Would you believe it? One race down on What a Shout, and he's agreeing with Dave Orton. The postman will go far. 2:25 at Sandown. It's time to get Imperial for the Cup. Pat Cooney, massive field for this. Lot talked in the week about the bonus not being there. They've injected it into the prize money. Paddy Power said in the week, basically, look, we're going to get pelters for this, but we think we're doing the right thing to sustain the big fields on Saturdays. They've certainly got that.
Absolutely, yes. There's a big field, but it's all one-way traffic in terms of what we're laying, and that's Balco Coastal, Nicky Henderson's horse, who we were hoping he was going to run in our Bet365 More battle at Kelso last week, but the connections ran Bouvardere in the race instead. So we've got him on our radar as a well-handicapped horse, and it seems most of the country has as well. His defeat last time reads perfectly well. The winner was narrowly beaten in a good-looking race at Kelso last week. And you do look at his mark of 134, and he's a type of horse you just probably know by the end of the season he's going to be rated a bit higher than that. So he's been very, very popular in the market, and I can't really see him drifting that dramatically. If there is value against that, I thought maybe one more for the road of Neil King with Jack Quinlan aboard, who he ran ever so well at Ascot in a similar type of race, and he's only gone up a pound. He's had a break since then. He's 84 days off, but that's probably to keep him away from soft and heavy ground. So I like his profile, but the Balco Coastal, if you're on at 8-1s and fancy prices, then I think you're looking pretty good. I think whatever way you go in this race, like me, I'm going to be one more for the road, but I'll certainly save on the Nikki Henderson Novice at the top of the market.
Okay, towards the top of the market, Pat thinks it's got it right. You've obviously been subscribing to the Anti-Postman's weekly email. Is it a weekly email that you deliver?
Every Tuesday afternoon, yeah.
That's a bit of pressure, isn't it?
A little
bit. Good time of the year, I suppose.
It's easy this time of year. I do worry after sort of that lull between. Actually, we've got Aintree, but a lot of the markets aren't out for quite a while.
You were known as being a sort of Irish tipster as well.
Yeah.
So you've got Punchestown coming up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just concerned that it seems every year the markets come out later and later because you kind of don't know who's going to run in small fields and stuff like that.
It's been a bit of a nightmare for Cheltenham, that, isn't it? But
let's
concentrate on Balco Coastal, because anyone that's does read that on a Tuesday, was it 9s you put
9-1, yeah. I just thought that was huge.
Well, you've won the battle there. How do you play him now?
Well, I don't play him now because he's obviously nearly a third of the price. But
so for anyone that's not involved, do you think he'll drift a bit then?
No, I think Pat's right. He's probably not going to get much shorter or much bigger. But it's a 22-runner field, and things can go wrong.
What's the danger?
I think I found one here at 33-1 Lebowski for Michael Scudamore. Now he was unbeaten over hurdles until he ran in the Rossington Main behind Jonbon last time, and he was upsides him jumping 3 out, but he just seemed to stop quite quickly. I don't know what happened there, but his jockey said he lost his action completely. If something was amiss, then he's definitely been well handicapped sort of on his opening mark of 124, and I just thought he'd be much shorter price than that. He's got quite an interesting profile. Yeah, I mean, you're getting paid 6th place at 365. I think you can do much worse than to the Bat Lebowski.
He went to Foss last, didn't he? He went to Ayr and he thrashed the fields there. So
yeah, I mean,
it's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's very impressive wins in his novice hurdles. So
I think you might come unstuck here with Balco Coastal, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, what's that?
History Bear, who ran behind Cormier last time at Cheltenham. Watch that back and remember the section, the replay. You'll find it hard not to be with this, I think. My worry is he gets too far back in this. But he's definitely handicapped to win a big one. Tom Simmons needs a big Saturday winner. You'd like to see these colours carried to victory, wouldn't you? Because you've put up one of the wackiest Cheltenham Festival tips I've seen so far.
I've been trying to drive Song for Someone's price down for a couple of months, but Bet365 aren't having it at all.
Well, I think the traders might be on the right side of this one. I mean, you've put unfortunately, Tom's a friend of the show. He came on the Friday before he found Goshen far too good, and ever since it's been a bit patchy, isn't it? Ran really well at Ascot on his return, but you think going up to 3 miles might be what he wants?
I think so, yeah. He's just hard-ridden. Every time he goes over 2 miles, he's just hard-ridden early on and he just stays on.
Robbie, it's because he's like you. He doesn't really try that hard, you know.
I don't try that hard.
You don't. You are Song for Someone.
Laissez-faire. But no, well, you look back at his run earlier this season, over 2.5 miles. He's finishing that race pretty well, and he was second to Buzz.
Buzz, that's the one.
He's second to Buzz.
Yeah. Like, the talent's there. And
almost favourite for the stayers.
Yeah, I think that's why people like.
And he's been taken out of the champion hurdle. Apparently, Simmons says he's going to go for it. There's just a history of horses step up to 3 miles and improving out of all recognition.
Put some egg on it as well. I mean, we're digressing a bit, but these colours could well be lifted to success, I think. Again, watch it back. That's History Bear. All right. I spoke to Paul Nicholls again earlier in the week. He gave me a good word for Samareve as well. Ran him too quickly at Ascot last time. Previous Sandown winner. It's a bit of a minefield. Who wins? Get your selections in below. 3 o'clock at Sandown. Who wants a flat race on the jump scores? Because it is a listed mare's bumper. Whatever you think about them, this is a keenly contested race. Pat Cooney.
Oh, absolutely. And just about all of them have got a 1 by their name. So it's a deep old race in terms of talent. Mullenbeg is our favourite for the race. And Milton Harris, of course, having a cracking year. Visually impressive last time, but I'm not so sure about her, really. I think it might have looked too good to be true because the favourite of Willie Mullins was last of 10, ran no kind of a race. The second favourite, Hidden Beauty of Fergal O'Brien, pulled up. That reopposes tomorrow. And so on and so on. So I'm not quite sure of the merit of the form. So can win, yes. Bet no, really. Not at that kind of a price. I like a horse that was actually 4th in that race, Flirtatious Girl, who won this race a year ago. Now, we're just watching that race back again. A Flirtatious Girl, she just hung out to the right, just about all over the track at Cheltenham last time. She's clearly better right-handed at Sandown. And it's one of those, isn't it? If you pretend last time didn't happen, she would probably be half the price. So Flirtatious Girl, not often a horse wins a bumper 2 years in a row, but that might be the case on Saturday.
Well, she's doing a bit of the glancing queen did this, didn't it? Had an injury and stayed. I must admit, Robbie, I looked at this and I thought Mullenbeg would probably win. I thought of all the shorties on Saturday, I thought that might be the one. Milton Harris is having a great season, isn't he? Come out of nowhere again. He's sort of pot hunting a little bit. He's got Knight Salute, obviously, for the Triumph. Had a double at Wincanton on Thursday. And her previous Ludlow form, she slammed a horse of Jamie Snowden's, who's since come out and won since. And she's gone to Cheltenham and won. I know that Hidden Beauty pulled up really, too far out for us to know. And maybe getting the £4 now, she might have a crack at her. But obviously she has pulled up. I thought that Lucia was quite interesting of Hendo's. The horse that she beat at Warwick quite easily on her debut. She'll like the grind ground. That should have won a bumper at Wincanton on Thursday. Hung all over the track. Tom Lacey's Blow Your Wad. Brilliant name. And there are dangers there. Mullins bring ones over. He's won this race before. But I thought this was one of the shorties that would do it. And I think, it's great to get on the Milton Harris train at the moment.
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. I don't know if she will. I know she was dominant at Cheltenham last time. But like you said, did Hidden Beauty run a race? Probably not. I also think, like Pat, Flirtatious Girl, she's entitled to come forward for that. She won this last year. And she's on £4 better terms. She was hanging. Like she'll be better going this way around.
Yep.
I'm 12 to 1 with Bet365. That looks too, but I can see that going off much shorter. Got another one as well at 33 to 1. Nifty Getaway for Archie Watson.
You love a double carpet, don't you? You like wearing the carpet.
To be fair, I'm wearing the same silks as Nifty Getaway, if you look at your race.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you'll be open to do this very shortly.
You know the Glen Shill silks?
Yeah.
It's these ones, yeah. So
okay.
camel and black.
All right, yeah.
But the case is, I always take note when Archie Watson has a bumper runner. I think this season he's 3 from 9, the other 4 have placed. And this mare has got quite an interesting approach. She won heavy ground at Ayr last time quite impressively. I thought she'd be way shorter considering those kind of connections. And it's due to rain at Sandown. I mean, if the ground eases up, she'll definitely handle it. Quite a few of these aren't proven on the conditions and over the distance. A lot of these have won sort of like a mile and a half bumpers. Like a 2 mile bumper on soft ground be completely different. So I could see the money coming for that one. And yeah, nifty getaway for me for the camel and black combination.
Trying to knock it out of the park on his What a Shout debut. Happy days. That is the Bears bumper. Done. Final big race preview for you this weekend. It's the 3:35. It's a novice handicap. Now, this used to be the option at Cheltenham, of course. Remember Imperial Auras and the like winning that handicap? No longer. It was dropped. This is your option, won by Faraday last year. 6 runners only. Could get political on that, but I sense with Cheltenham on the horizon, you just want a winner. Have you found one for us? It's the final big race preview.
I'm not 100%. I'm not as keen as my earlier selections, but I think Killer Kane is probably the most likely winner.
Yeah.
I know Tizzards. Every stable toy you read of the Tizzards, they're like this. Killer Kane is very smart, but he's never really shown that at the track. Apart from last time when he belatedly got off the mark over fences at the third time of asking. Thought he won quite well there. He sort of pulled himself up at the last. Though. It was over 3 miles. He drops in trip to 2 mile 4. I think that will help. And I mean. Judged on what he's shown in sort of novice hurdles and stuff, I think 126 could definitely underestimate him. And yeah, it's not a great race. Like Danny Kerwin, he's not one you'd put too much trust in.
He's not. He has been a bit of a cliff horse for a lot of people, me included. He was trained by the same point-to-point operation in Ireland as Appreciate It, and if you talk to the Doyles, they'll say that this chap was the one they thought was going to be the Denman of their operation. He has obviously got a lot of screw loose. Yeah. He loves good ground. He did come good last time at Wincanton, where he was either brilliant at his fences or he was a little bit sticky. If he takes up, if he gets a freebie and he takes to those railway fences, I think he might. I mean, the scope this bloke has got over fence is scary. However, the fact he's running here off what? Still 132. Our handicapper only gave 130 for that as well.
And the official handicap has not even raised him for that victory.
I know. It was a bit of a soft race for him. But he was the only horse that won for Nichols in that horrible inoculation period, as we called it, when he was given all the flu jabs. I think this might just be his day, and a lot of people will be screaming at the telly going, Dave, you're going in again. You can make a case for Killer Kane. I think he probably is the danger. Dorking lad, has he shown his hand? At least he's winning. Frenchy Dularge, thrashed last time on bad ground. A lot of runs. Venetia, I'm not sure. Flick on Ovoyu, the other Nichols horse, probably not good enough. Seen and not heard. This is a different kettle of fish. So it's Danny Kerwin's to lose for me.
Good luck to you. But...
Oh, well, I might need some. What sort of price am I going to look at, Pat?
Well, he's just about clinging on to favouritism at the moment. He's round about 11-4. I was on the bandwagon. I hopped off it about a season and a half ago, and I've no designs to queue up and get on him again. My slight worry with Danny Kerwin, he's a front runner. He looked the part last time out, but Seen Not Heard's also a front runner, and I could just see the two of them going hell for leather up front. And I was thinking, I want to pick one that's going to just be closing methodically throughout the race. And I'm like, Robbie, I thought Killer Kane, I thought he did very well over the easy 3 miles at Kempton last time out. The drop-in trip, probably okay, but I could just more than anything see Danny Kerwin and Seen Not Heard taking each other up in front, and it'll be one of the closers. And I know Killer Kane's in good order off the back of a win over further last time out. So a couple of Killer Kanes for us.
2 Killer Kanes, but I'm hoping that the rain stays away, and this is Danny Kerwin's day. Who wants some Cheltenham chat then? It would be remiss of us on What a Shout not to go there. Before we go to Pat and see what Bet365 have been seeing going on. Now, you won't do what we might call, racing Twitter would call a muggy double, would it? But a lot of punters, Robbie, are just looking at the first 2 days. They don't want to bet in every single race, which is, safe gambling, quite right, and all that sort of thing. If you're not sure, there's some minefields out there. They'll be looking at the honeysuckle on the Tuesday as the banker. Whether you believe it or I believe it, that's what it is. And on Wednesday, it's Shiskhin. That's the double. I looked in the week, Pat. It was paying around about 11-8 with Bet365. Just before I go to Robbie, is that still about right?
It still is, yes. And there is a feeling perhaps we get them both beat. We might be greedy there.
Wow. Okay, so and would you be in that camp? Just you can lift the lid now.
I think they both can lose. They're obviously the most likely winners, but I mean, they're both. I think the Champion is much better than people are giving.
So 11-8. That double's not for you at all.
No, not at all.
So, okay, so what about the treble? So who are people putting in? Because I don't know. Is it Allaho? I don't know. I suppose it is. Do people want to go?
I think you wait until final fields and find out who Mullins is running in the Ballymore out of Sir Gerhard and Dice at Dynamo.
I like that.
So I think whoever runs in that will win, because I don't think it's a pretty weak race this year, I think.
Yeah, I hope people are watching What a Shout today, and there's been so many previews and a lot of talking done, and let's face it, the tricky part, Pat, has been knowing which of Mullins is going where. We've not even talked about the Brown advisory. Could Bob have a solo in the Turners yet? Might still happen. Could he be one for the multiple as well? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think the way things go, I think that the third horse in the treble is definitely Allaho. And if you bet Allaho for the Ryanair, you were never going to run in anything but that race. So he's been solid from right when he won the Ryanair a year ago. So he's definitely one for the treble as well. I agree, as Robbie touched on it. I think if Sir Gerhardt runs in the Ballymore, he's odds on to be odds on. And I'm in Ireland at the moment. I've done a few of these talk show things, and the consensus of opinion seems to be he's not certain to stay. He's not gone over the trip, but he is by far the best in the race. And the other one, if you want a fivefold, and four is dangerous enough, but if you want five, everyone seems to think Facile Vega will win the bumper. Now, he's got it to prove. Willie Mullins often rings with a second and third string. I think he's got one in the race, Redemption Day or something, that's working very well. But Facile Vega, he's very, very strongly fancied. Those 5 hot pots, you can make a case for them getting beat, but I'm sure 3 or 4 of them will win.
Pat came on at the start of the season, told us all about Facile Vega. It's gone well. One of your lays of the week, I've been reading.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Well, I mean, I'm a fan of what Facile Vega's achieved, but I just think
price.
His breeding is factored into his price, and everyone's like,
correct.
The romance of him.
Well, his mum knew how to win there, didn't she? And walk in the park, Duvan, etc.
Corvega's son. But I think the Champ Bumper's a really good race this year.
It's only 2-horse race.
Nah,
race.
Redemption Day.
It's a 2-horse race.
Any one of these Mullins sort of third, fourth strings, like you got to take note they're unbeaten, and I don't think they probably know.
The preliminaries might have something to do with it, but I don't know. It's a 2-horse race.
Nah,
that's what I think. But okay, so we've talked about the multiple now. Let's move on, because you did a piece on Thursday. Let's advertise this a little bit, and it was quite a tricky piece, I imagine. Because
I took ages, mate. Yeah.
Did you? Yeah, because it was about the Pressbury Cup, wasn't it?
My 2 days allowance.
23.5. Sorry, everyone. I've said it again. That's what 2021 was, and. You've been asked to predict the score. Now, Keel said on the show last week he thinks it will be 10.
Yeah,
for Brits, that is.
I've gone 19.9. It'll be better.
How hard is that to come down to?
Yeah, really hard. You got to make. I mean, it could go either way, like 2 to 3 winners.
The postman was given a potential letter bomb there, was he?
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to predict really, because I mean, you haven't seen final fields and stuff like that. You don't know exactly where everyone's going. But I think the crux of it is the Brits will have more joy in the handicaps this year, judging by how the Irish horses are being treated. And the British handicap has been quite generous this season, generally, to British handicappers, dropping them quicker. I think that's going to have an impact.
And thanks to you, Bet365 put a market up, didn't they? It is thanks to you, isn't it?
Yeah, if it wasn't for me, it wouldn't be there. So
there you are.
Cheers.
So what did you go for?
I went for, obviously 19.9 to Ireland.
Which is?
And that is 6 to 1.
Is that still 6s, Pat, or have they bowled it over?
No, it is 6 to 1, and I'm not sure about this market. Our favourite is 21.7 to Ireland at 4 to 1. 20 to 8 is 4 to 1, and 22.6 is 5 to 1. But look at the day one. Constitution Hill or Jonbon could win the Supreme. That's 1-0 to Great Britain. Edwardstone could win the Arkle. That's 2-0 to Great Britain. The third race is the Ultima, as Robbie says. You can easily see an English horse winning that. Imagine that, 3-0 to Great Britain after 3 races. And the handicaps, we've got 9 handicaps on the card. Say if Great Britain win 5 of them, not unreasonable. Lobbing Shiskhin, perhaps. I think he's a short enough price. I can see this being 17-11 to Ireland, of course. One thing I do know, an Irish horse will win the bumper. I don't see a British horse being in the first 10 in the bumper. And the cross country, that's probably going for export as well. I think the home team will do a lot better, and particularly in the first half of the meeting.
I mean, it's the hope that gets you, Pat. But what price would GB sink to if we were 3-0 up after the first 3 races?
I think even at 3-0, Ireland would still be favourite. So there we go.
It takes a lot to move a 9s on shot.
There is maybe some in-running value.
Yes,
exactly.
That bet comes into it, because no one's saying that the Brits can win.
Yeah, I think there are markets all the way out there. Look, aren't there, like Mullins and Elliott and Hendo coupled to win races and all that sort of stuff. So look, lots that hasn't been said yet. I know you've been hearing it from everyone, but trust me, there's chess pieces still to move. We can't wait. Off the top of the cuff, lay of the week, Facile Vega. Who wins the Gold Cup?
Protectorate.
Oh, Protectorate. A lot of love for the Brits again. Pat Cooney, Gold Cup winner?
Just go by last year, Manila Indo. He looked back to his best last time out. His record at Cheltenham's excellent. Yeah, keep it simple. Last year's winner again.
Okay, I'm hoping Galvin drifts a little bit because I'm not on that one yet, but I will be backing him on the day. There you go, Cheltenham chat. Gordon Ramsay, done. Very important then, on the eve of Cheltenham, it is to give you a weekend winner. Sandown, Wolverhampton. Ooh, to whisper it, of course, on the show, but the Lincoln is just 2 weeks away. There's a trial there. It's their big day in the sun. God knows where Pat's going. I'll go in the 4:45 at Sandown, though. Friend of the show, Sam Thomas seems to be targeting his races extremely well this season, and he's found one for Powerstown Park. He can win the staying handicap there. Robbie Wilders?
Lebowski in the... Oh, what time is it? Let me just...
3:35?
In the... They said, the 225, yeah, Lebowski at 33s is huge.
All right, I love it. Okay, with Balco, of course, who you've put up for your legion of supporters, because they might be questioning your
I'm in
your
the
morals
Balco.
now.
I'm in the Balco camp, but it's just 22 runners, isn't it? And you're getting 6 places, so 7 to 2 is you're not going to bat that each way. Are you?
Lebowski, a big price. All right, Pat Cooney, where are we going?
We're off to Sandown. We're going for the last race. And this is his final warning for me. Dayran de Carjac of Alan King. His form figures 5055F. Forgive the F, that was very early on in his race. Some of those fives are really decent runs, you know. He's got cheek pieces on for the first time. It's a drop in grade, smaller field might suit it. But honestly, the honeymoon's over if he doesn't win this, because I can't keep backing him.
Yeah, the letter F has just been mouthed all over the place. But confessions of a punter, I'm with you as well. I will be giving him another chance. There you go then. Trixie, treble, however you want to play it, your weekend naps. Well, sadly, that's all we've got time for then. You will be seeing us next week during the Cheltenham Festival. We've got a special show lined up for you. Don't worry. 6 p.m. that will be out on the Friday of Cheltenham. We'll be looking at Midlands National. Oh my God, can you believe we're thinking about that already? But we'll have Matt Gardner, our handicapper, is going to come and tell us all about the performances of the week, and we'll be reflecting on the festival so far. Listen, good luck everyone out there. It's been a great season so far on What a Shout. All our regular viewers, we wish you the very best. New viewers too. Get your comments in below. Cheltenham Naps. We read it all through the weekend. Pat Cooney, you've been on tour. How does next week look for Pat? Down in the press room?
Yes, I'm there hopefully all 4 days, and just really, really looking forward to it, as indeed everyone seems to be. Great buzz about it. Great to have the crowds back. Just hope it all goes smoothly.
Well, we look forward to seeing what Pat reports as well from the betting jungle down at Cheltenham. Robbie, enjoy the week. Great to have a What a Shout debut. I mean, the funny thing is, you've sported a camel coat, all right? You've come in with a mouse. No one's had a mouse before. And a laptop, and you've used your phone all the way through.
Well, I need these kind of... There's this assistance to get through it, don't I? So.
Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, no, it's been good, yeah.
We're going to see a lot more of you, man. So.
Well, the weather's getting hotter, so I won't be wearing this next time.
Happy days, absolutely. Listen, good luck with all the tips this weekend. Cheers, great to have Robbie on. Great to have you watching. Don't forget, gamble responsibly. Cheltenham is on the horizon. Loads of sport out there. Don't forget to download the free Racing Post app. You can do that, of course, on the App Store or the Google Store itself. So, let's have your comments coming in. Can't wait to read them. From myself, Dave Orton, enjoy the sport.